Welcome back to TARTLE Cast. You are here with Jason and Alex.
Yes, and here we go. We're gonna do a what do they call this? It's a Twitter. It's not a feed. Is it a feed? I don't know what they call it. Where somebody makes and they keep going on and on and on.
Oh, it's cool. And then they put like one out of 100.
Yeah, and then there's like 100 of these. Not 100, but so the Sovereign Saxon is the guy's name. So he's a Bitcoin guy.
Sovereign Saxon.
He's probably what's those Maximus Bitcoin dudes or whatever.
Is he English?
Yeah, I don't know. He's got a picture of some Viking dude. He did an illustrated summary and notes on episode 6 of the Sailor series, Digital Gold, Harder, Smarter, Stronger, and Faster Bitcoin.
Sailor series,
which is the guy that owns MicroStrategies. He's got on his ledger, he's got like a couple $1 billion.
Okay, I remember
worth
now.
of Bitcoin.
Thank you.
Yeah. So he's talking about the episode 5, and he says covers Bitcoin as a harder, smarter, stronger, and faster technology. Its inherent anti-fragility, potential threats, the role of gatekeepers, pain in defense, and future integrated software applications. So what they're comparing it to is compared to gold. But what I want to compare, they're comparing Bitcoin to gold. So I want to compare TARTLE and TARTLE's marketplace to Bitcoin. And then
de facto from that, TARTLE to gold.
Yes, yeah. And then we'll compare TARTLE's marketplace to anything.
I'll compare it to anything.
Yeah.
Designed for human beings by human beings.
Bitcoin is digital gold. It is harder, smarter, stronger, faster than traditional gold.
Harder, smarter, stronger, and faster. Okay, first of all, harder, that's not true. Gold is a relatively soft metal, but it does have some hardness to it. Faster, yes. Bitcoin doesn't weigh anything. So I don't have to physically put this gold on transport or put it into a FedEx box, which you can do. You can ship gold via FedEx and then move this thing around. Smarter? Well, that's an unfair comparison. Gold's not smart.
It's just a rock.
It's just gold, right? It's some crystalline structure doing its thing.
Yeah.
You know? And what's the last one? Faster?
Faster than traditional gold, yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're considering it as an asset class, you can transmit it at a much more accelerated rate because it's electronic.
So he kind of breaks them in there. So he says harder. Bitcoin is harder because of its 21 million cap. And its stock to flow is going exponentially to infinity, and that's the easy part of harder because you're exactly comparing it to gold. But there is another element of harder, Nassim Taleb's, the anti-fragile harder.
Okay.
So, and I want to get into the anti-fragile part about harder.
I see where he's going now. Okay, so harder. Gold essentially has a maximum amount that we can mine on this planet. It has a cap.
Right.
Much like Bitcoin at 21 million or whatever the issuance is. And then they break that down as the Satoshis.
And the cost, people don't realize the cost of gold is the cost of mine.
It's the energy put in to pull that thing out of the earth, reform it, polish it up, and store it somewhere with a cost to carry. That's what gold costs. If we're talking about anti-fragility, right? Bitcoin, the more it's owned, the more machines that process it, the stronger that network becomes.
Right.
With gold, it doesn't matter how many things I have scraping out of the earth or people trying to operate on it. It doesn't essentially make that logistics network, mining and logistics, any stronger. It is limited. But
TARTLE's the same way. The more people that are on it doing work,
the stronger it becomes.
Kind of like the miners.
Yeah, the harder it becomes.
Yes, the harder the marketplace becomes.
That's the anti-fragility. Remember we talked about the SR-71 Blackbird in a previous episode? The more use it gets, the more robust and how much the system can deal with the ebb and flow of different catalysts from the outside.
Right. He compares, which I like. He does a lot with nature.
Yeah.
And so we can compare this to TARTLE. He says Bitcoin is an anti-fragile element. It is literally a swarm of cyber hornets that keep getting more powerful, that you can't kill, that are going to get smarter, stronger, and faster.
Well, that's what he's saying. These miners come in everywhere. More servers pop up. More people are jumping onto the network. And it moves with the hive mentality.
Right.
So you can kill one of the hornets. There's still 10,000 backing it up to replace it. You haven't killed the hive.
Right.
Unless you take out the queen. With TARTLE, it's a hive of queens.
Yes, it is.
That's the only way I could describe that. Why? Because it's sovereign in and of itself, but they're all working in collaboration together.
Well, especially with our referral system, everybody has the potential to be a queen, and with friends and family, and you're actually getting paid not just in doing the work of data packets and filling those out. You're getting paid for bringing your friends and family
as you should
into the system.
If you tell
someone creating a network of that,
you're correct, Jason. Because if you're sharing something, if you're physically putting in work to say, speak, do, or do something for somebody else's behalf, you should get paid for it.
Yeah, and Saylor gives the metaphor of the Great Wall of China, it being a material defense meant to keep the Mongols out, is a fragile defense because it is a static stone structure and it didn't keep the Mongols out.
No, it did not keep the Mongolian
They found a weak
Empire
point at one of the gates, cracked through, and they slaughtered all the Chinese.
They did. They did. Genghis Khan, that guy was one tough cookie.
Yeah, he also said Philip II, of Macedonia, which you know who he is.
Yes, I do.
He's Alexander the Great's father
who was
said,
yeah.
There is no wall that is high enough to stop a horse with the cart filled with gold.
Do you know what that point is, though? How phenomenal, how fucking phenomenal is that statement?
Yes.
If you show up, no matter how big the enemy is, and you roll up with a cart of gold, they'll open the front doors for you.
Every time.
Every single time.
Yeah.
How fabulous is that statement? But
he meant it doesn't matter how strong your defenses are if I can bribe the gatekeeper. Another example is the Maginot Line, where the French built the impenetrable defense against the Germans. The Germans went around it through Belgium, and then they cheated and they hacked it.
Classic. I think Maginot Line was World War I.
Yes.
And, right, we have all these trenches. But yeah, it's the hack. It's the go-around. The whole idea here is that the encryption of the Bitcoin system is protected on all sides. Doesn't matter which way you attack it. There's only one way to get into it, and that's through the encryption.
Yeah, and he says
you can't bribe the encryption.
Yeah, he says Saylor deems gold a dumb rock. It is not intelligent. It's not a life force. A coral reef is a life form. All forms of life are adaptive. If you kill the weak element, the ones you didn't kill get stronger.
Right. And just to clarify this for him, and this is where I'd have to make a comparative analysis to Tartle. Gold, okay, got it. Yeah, it's not a life form. Either is Bitcoin. Bitcoin's not the life form. It's the people that are influencing the network that are making it adjust and evolve.
Dude, you're going right along with what he's saying.
Okay. So if you look at Tartle, it's the people that are actually evolving that network. Tartle is alive because it's human beings doing work.
Right.
It's not, here's a thing, and then the human beings have to come in. No, it's the human being on Tartle, organism. Then creating something.
Like a coral reef. It's the same as with regards to Bitcoin, it's composed of a number of elements. There's software running on hardware, hardware running in facilities that are plugged in the firmament of some domain. There are people that are operating the software, that are writing that software, that are operating those facilities, that are building that hardware, and those people are also acting in the political and economic domain.
That's correct.
There are people in the Bitcoin ecosystem that are improving the Square wallet. They're improving the Binance exchange. They're improving the back-end server exchanges. They're improving the front-end client software, improving the ASICs that the miners are running.
Yeah.
There are people negotiating with governments everywhere on Earth to get better electricity, to receive better regulatory treatment. People that are making Bitcoin, being educators, communicators, analysts, creating analytic functions that are being used to drive and channel the network. They are all moving. They are all evolving.
Yeah.
And that is the Tartle marketplace. That is the same thing. That's what we call you a data champion.
Because you are doing this work all over the world to speak on your behalf and the behalf of others, to talk about this value and the change you want to see in the world through the sharing of information.
Yeah, he said the antifragility of Bitcoin comes from the fact that everybody in the ecosystem feels the same pain in the same way if the price goes down. Every Bitcoin hodler feels it if Bitcoin is hacked and goes to zero. Every Bitcoiner loses their life's energy. We are a hive creature all integrated with one another, and when there is that pain, it spreads very quickly through the entire ecosystem. Yeah,
so the idea here is because Bitcoin runs on a single chain, one single blockchain, if there is an error, an inefficiency, an attack on that chain itself, it hurts the entire network at the same time. So people will do everything in their power to prevent that sort of harm from coming in and upsetting the value that has been created through the energy and work they've put in to sustain this system.
Right. Well,
that's what it is.
And it also, like, he talks about, well, what if we have a quantum computers and how's that? He's like, the most popular use of the computer is Bitcoin mining.
If you have a quantum computer, great. That just means that you can go through the hashes faster. You can write a block to the chain quicker.
That's the next one. Generates SHA-256 hashes
faster.
SHA-256. Than the current generation of Bitcoin mining. The most lucrative thing you can do with it is plug into the network and start to contribute more hash rate.
Right. But that's just saying one of the biggest issues with the blockchain, right, the single blockchain, is that it's like I have all these superhighways coming together and they all have to mash on one thing and then reach out, and then everyone's got to verify that everything did hit at that point and this one came first.
Yeah, and he says anybody that ever studied computer science knows that we start with 16, then go to 32, then 64, then 128, then 256, then 512, then and so on.
1024.
So yeah, and then it's the next protocol. And he says, who do you think that is going to figure that out? The people that have 500 billion of risk? And then he said, it's just as likely that some dude is going to come up with a revolver that shoots photon bullets. The entire network is channeling innovation. If you're a creature with 2 arms and I wrap a tourniquet around one of your arms and I choke off the blood flow, the arm dies. Use the other arm. When you're an octopus, you got 8. When you're a hydra, you've got 1 million.
Yeah, because they grow back.
And that's the marketplace on TARTLE, is that it's just continually growing. It's
all
this
the time.
hive that is.
If you take one away, 10 grow back.
Yes.
It's like when you shoot a coyote, the offspring, the females, will actually birth double the rate of coyotes.
Yes.
In an effort to counteract that.
Yeah, and
that's nature at its finest.
Yeah, and the minute that they sense that a coyote has died, all the females go into what do they call it, gestation or whatever that
heat.
Yeah, they all go into heat too. That's why they're thriving so well.
Yeah.
He said, so the entire creature is just going to move to a place where there's oxygen, where it can live. And if it can fight, it'll fight. And if it can't fight, we'll morph itself into a different domain.
Right. So
go ahead.
Can we talk about TARTLE?
Yeah.
Yeah. TARTLE has the ability to adapt. Wherever people want to shift to, it can shift to that. It has a natural flexibility built into it. There's an infinite nature in the way the data is created and where people want to see that value.
Yeah.
If you look at Bitcoin, there's only value in one area, the Bitcoin itself.
Yes.
But in TARTLE, many millions of assets of different values, people can change that as society sees fit, whatever's best for us.
Well, you're not going to kill the TARTLE marketplace because, and he quotes Charlie Munger, which I love, which is a bit warning. But he actually comes with a good quote. He said, show me the incentive and I will show you the outcome.
Yeah, I'll show you the incentive. People that
think
don't
about
have
that with the TARTLE marketplace.
Any economic opportunity, right? What's their incentive? Oh my gosh, there's a new asset out there that I can make money off of. There's the opportunity.
Yes.
People will flock to that in droves, and we've seen it. They do.
And, when the Bitcoin environment, people talk about the energy it takes to mine. They're working on that. They're using hydro dams. So whenever you have an incentive, that drives innovation.
Yeah.
And in that driving of innovation, you're going to see, quantum computers. You're going to see eco-friendly.
Well, let's talk about a comparative analysis, right? So if Bitcoin is the asset, and it's on a single blockchain, there's natural inefficiencies to that process. There's a huge cost involved for the movement or the encryption and decryption of certain things. Okay, reading and writing to that chain. TARTLE, because of the engineered structure we've taken on, it's instantaneous, completely feeless, which means it's ultra low energy. The processing power is minimal for us to do that across millions and millions and millions of nodes.
We're also using the greatest power known to man that we still can't figure out.
What, people?
And the most efficient power that's out there is people.
Yes.
People, we don't, to the amount of brain computing power that comes out of your brain, and all you have to do is give it a little bit of food and water.
Yeah.
The input is amazing.
So what happens?
The output is amazing from the input.
So we get all these people all over the world that are on TARTLE.
Yes.
Collaboratively coming together and unifying their minds, their energy, and their work towards one goal. That's a bright future.